What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to the Full 90. It is time for the Week 4 predictions of the Premier League, a league that is becoming increasingly hard to predict these days. And I want to give a massive shout out to Fear1355 Boy for his predictions on the last week's video in the comments down below. And the reason I picked him, he didn't have the best prediction week, but he was the only person without an edited comment that correctly predicted that Aston Villa would actually beat Everton, getting them their first win of the Premier League season. So congratulations to you there. If you want a chance to be featured in the next episode of the Full 90, then leave your comments down below with your score predictions for Week 4. And I do just want to quickly say, in a couple of days on the channel, I will also be doing a Champions League draw sort of reaction / predictions for all of the group stages. So that is going to be very, very exciting. Now, before we get into Week 4, it's time to look back at Week 3 of the Premier League, and it didn't really go so well. So kicking off, we had Aston Villa versus Everton. I said Everton would win 2-1, Villa won 2-0, so totally different there. Norwich versus Chelsea, I said Chelsea would win 2-0, so fairly comfortably. It was actually 3-2 after Norwich coming from behind to tie the game 2 times, but not being able to do it for the 3rd time. So good performances from Tammy Abraham and Mason Mount to see Chelsea over the line there. The next game, Brighton versus Southampton. I was going to go with a 1-1 draw in the video, but you know what I did? I did something I very rarely do. I predicted a Brighton win in a video. I decided to change my prediction to a 2-1 win to Brighton. Finally backed Brighton in a video for like maybe the 2nd time in a year, and they lost 2-0 to Southampton, so not great for me there. Manchester United, all the people that hated on me for predicting against United in the past, they would have been happy. I predicted United to win 3-1, and then they lost 2-1 to Crystal Palace. So again, not another pretty terrible prediction from me there. Leicester versus Sheffield, or Sheffield United versus Leicester, I should say. I predicted Leicester to win 1-0 away. They won 2-1 thanks to an absolute belter of a half volley by Harvey Barnes, I believe. Watford versus West Ham, I predicted a 2-2 draw. It was the right amount of goals, but it was a 3-1 win in favour of West Ham. So Watford really, really struggling. This time last year, they'd won 3 out of 3 of their first games. This time this year, they've lost 3 out of 3 of their first games, so not very good there. Liverpool versus Arsenal. Now, obviously, when you look at Liverpool versus Arsenal at Anfield, I feel like the most logical prediction to go for is a 3-1 win to Liverpool, but I just went 1-1 because I thought maybe Arsenal could do something, and maybe if they took their chances, they could have done, but they lost 3-1, so unfortunately, Liverpool winning that game. The next one, Bournemouth versus Man City. I was very close to getting this one right. I predicted a 4-1 away win to Manchester City, and it was only a 3-1 win to Manchester City. There was a possible penalty shouts in there, all kinds of stuff, but yeah, not great. Well, not great. That's pretty decent, to be honest, but not great, however, when I predicted Tottenham to beat Newcastle 3-0, and Newcastle beat Tottenham 1-0, similar to the way Bournemouth beat Tottenham 1-0 last year. So Tottenham looking a little bit shaky. Now, Wolves versus Burnley, I predicted a 2-1 win to Wolves, and it was a 1-1 draw. So Wolves are one of the only 2 teams in the league who have yet to get a win, and also one of the 3 teams in the league who are undefeated, I believe. So, actually, maybe one of 4 teams, because I think Leicester are also undefeated. I'm not entirely sure, but so Wolves just sitting there, 3 draws out of 3. But anyway, let's move on from that and move on to Week 4. Coming up first, we have Southampton versus Manchester United. Now, this is quite a tough fixture, to be honest, to go away to Southampton. And was it Liverpool? Yeah, Liverpool went away, and they could have easily dropped points at Southampton. Last year, Arsenal went to Southampton. They lost. They dropped all 3 points. So I'm going for a close game, and I think Man United, I think the fact that they lost to Crystal Palace will only do them good in terms of this result, because they can't drop points again against a team like Southampton after losing to Crystal Palace at Old Trafford. So I think Man United are going to do what's necessary to win, but I think it's going to be very, very close. And I'm going to go for a 2-1 away win to Manchester United. The next game is Chelsea up against Sheffield United over at Stamford Bridge. Now, Chelsea finally getting their first win on the board. To be honest, they've looked good. Basically, they've looked decent, I would say, at least most games, especially going forward. At the back, they're not maybe as strong, but I think they do look good, and they are definitely going to score goals. And I'm going to go for a Chelsea win here, a 3-1 win against Sheffield United. Now, after this, we have Crystal Palace versus Aston Villa. Both teams coming off of a big win at the weekend. Crystal Palace at home. I think they're just going to get the edge on Aston Villa. But hey, this one could go either way. It could be a draw. It could go to Aston Villa. But I'm going to go for a 2-1 win to Crystal Palace. I think it's about time Zaha gets a goal. So I think he's going to get one in this game. 2-1 to Crystal Palace. The next game is Leicester City up against Bournemouth. And Bournemouth, I would say they were unlucky to get nothing against Manchester City over the course of the 90 minutes. Manchester City did deserve to win, but Bournemouth came out of the blocks fast. They had the more possession than Man City in the first 5 minutes, which is a very positive start. And then at the start of the second half, they really looked like they could push from 2-1 down to 2-2, and they had chances. They did have chances, and on another day, with that performance, Bournemouth could have got a draw from Manchester City there. So they were, in some cases, unlucky, but they did, in the end, deserve to lose. But Leicester, they're looking fairly good this season. I think they're currently sitting, I don't know, maybe 3rd position, something along those lines, maybe 4th. They're sitting up there. They're on 5 points. So I think they're in 4th position, actually. And yeah, they look good. They do look good, and they look like they really can push for top 6 this year. They're a good, solid unit, despite not having Harry Maguire anymore. I really don't see too much of a difference at the back, to be honest. So I'm going to go for a Leicester win here. I'm going to go for a 2-0 win. It wouldn't surprise me, to be honest, if Bournemouth did score, but I think Leicester will do what's necessary to get the win. And Schmeichel in goal has been great this season, so I'm actually going to back him to get a clean sheet this time around at the King Power Stadium. The next game is Manchester City up against Brighton, and it is at the Etihad. And oh my goodness, this is going to be... I think this is going to be a bit of a riot. I think Brighton are getting absolutely destroyed. Sometimes there's 2 types of win with Manchester City. There's the one from last week where they win by 2 goals and they didn't really hit their best. Like last week, to be honest, in my opinion, De Bruyne was a bit off form compared to how he usually is. He was still all right. He was still like, 6, 7 out of 10. But normally he's a 9 out of 10. Some of the passes he was making weren't necessarily connecting. And I think that's what led to kind of Man City being a little bit more vulnerable to a team like Bournemouth. But when he's on, he is on. So he had like an average game last week as opposed to a phenomenal game. I think he'll be back to form in the Etihad. And Brighton, I think they're going to just nick a goal. I just feel like they are. So I'm going to go for a 5-1 win to Manchester City. What a great scoreline that would be to predict. But I think Man City are going to walk away with this one quite comfortably. The next one, much harder to predict. Newcastle versus Watford. Watford sitting right at the bottom of the table. And Newcastle getting their first points of the season thanks to a hard-fought win at Tottenham. Was it a penalty on Harry Kane? There's debates for either side, but we don't have to talk about that now. Newcastle got the win in the end, so congratulations to them and Joel Linton for his first goal of the season. This one is going to be a lot tougher, and I think Watford are finally going to get some points on the board. Not many, just the 1 point. And I'm going to go for a stalemate, a 1-1 draw in this game. Now, the next game is West Ham versus Norwich. Norwich have been looking fairly good. And West Ham, they've been kind of West Ham-ish. It's just a West Ham thing to do. You kind of don't know where you stand. You don't know what's going to happen with them. I'm going to go for a high-scoring game, though. Norwich seem to be getting goals, whether they're getting thumped by Liverpool or making it close against Chelsea. They're getting goals. Pukki is in the goals every single week. I'm going to go for a 3-2 win to West Ham, and that would be another great prediction to get. I think West Ham are just going to edge it at home. They need to make amends for their last home appearance against Manchester City, where they lost 5-0. I'm going to go for a 3-2 win to West Ham against Norwich. The next game is Burnley against Liverpool. Now, Barnes, another player who cannot stop scoring. Will he score today? I don't know. I feel like Burnley are going to score a goal because Liverpool have conceded in every single game they've played in the Premier League this season, which is a little bit strange. Maybe they'll finally get a clean sheet, but maybe that's due to Alisson not being in the goal. You can't really fault Adrian too much. He's been keeping very, very well. They've just always conceded. They've conceded in every single game, which is a little bit strange, to be honest. But I'm going to go for a 3-1 win to Liverpool here at Turf Moor. I think they always seem to get the job done away from home, but they are more susceptible to conceding a goal when it's away from home. So I'm going to go for a 3-1 win to Liverpool here to keep them 4 out of 4 top of the league. The next game is Everton versus Wolves. Now, this one's going to be a tough one. Initially, I was going to go for Everton to win, and then I thought about possibly even Wolves winning, but then Wolves do have the final game of the Europa League qualifying stage on the Thursday, and then they have to play Everton, I believe. I assume it's on the Sunday, judging by the look of the order. So, I think it's going to be a close game, and I was going to put Everton to win, but then I thought back to the game against Aston Villa, where they really struggled to convert the chances. Theo Walcott, absolute belter of a chance in front of net, 6 yards out, and he just blazes it over the top after a lovely bit of work from Moise Keane. I just think Everton, they have yet to get their shooting boots on. They've yet to find their real sting up top. So I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw between these two teams. But Everton, if there's ever going to be a chance for Everton to get 3 points against Wolves, I definitely think it's now at Goodison Park, straight after the Europa League qualifying match against Torino. But I'm just going to go for a 1-1 draw. But if I had to pick a winner, I'd probably go with Everton this time. Now, the final game, the game of the week, the North London derby, Arsenal versus Tottenham. Now, Arsenal have been, they've been doing okay, and Tottenham were definitely shocked to lose that game against Newcastle. It just was not clicking. Harry Kane was out the game the entire time. They just don't look as good, Tottenham. They really don't, and it surprises me. I thought they'd look... I feel like Arsenal have made a bigger leap from last season than Tottenham have, and that does just surprise me a little bit. I'm going to back Arsenal to win this one, similar to the way they won at the Emirates last year in the North London derby. I think they did. I know they drew 1-1 once thanks to an Aubameyang penalty, but I don't know if that was away from home. But I'm going to go with Arsenal to win this one, 2-1, and what a win that would be. If Arsenal win this game, and end up on 9 points, and Tottenham are down on 4 points after 4 games, then that would be a big plus for the Gunners. So that is going to do it for this video. If you enjoyed it, leave a like and subscribe today. Turn on the notification bell because, as I said, I'm going to be doing my first Champions League video of the season in a couple of days. So yeah, you do not want to miss that one. And yeah, I will see you in the next video very soon.